The galaxy at large has long feared the tyrannical rule regime and dark side force abomination that the Sith control. However, what if I told you there was a being, an entity, a perversion of the dark side itself that was even more powerful than any Sith could ever dream to be? A being that has drank from the font of power and bathed in the pool of knowledge illegally. A being who was mutated, corrupted, destroyed by the dark side of the Force. No, my friend, I am not talking about the son of Mortis. While he is certainly formidable, the being that we were covering this duel, or more specifically this duel, will be a being 100,000 years old, who was said to be immortal, said to be the most powerful entity to ever grace the Star Wars galaxy, capable of going toe-to-toe with the nigh unstoppable being known as the Father of Mortis, who could keep his two children in line, with feats such as effortlessly dominating the son and the daughter simultaneously, beating them into submission before preparing to devour them. And she would have devoured them if not saved by their father. Yes, my friends, if you have unveiled the holocrons revolving around this entity, you know who I am talking about. I am talking about the Queen of the Stars, the bringer of chaos, Abeloth, the mother of the ones. Today, we shall cover possibly the greatest content that Abeloth has ever been a part of, that being the duel at the Lake of Apparitions. Many duels in the past I have analysed, scoured for information, searched in search of the hidden truth and knowledge that lies beneath the surface of what we see, such as Grandmaster Yoda vs Emperor Palpatine in the Senate chambers, and Luke vs Darth Vader aboard the second Death Star in the Emperor's throne room. Once again, I am doing this task today with the duel at the Lake of Apparitions. The duel at the Lake of Apparitions was a battle waged between Jedi Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, widely considered in holocrons, scripts, and texts to be the most powerful Jedi of all time, including Revan, Yoda, Mace Windu, and many others, and the Dark Lord of the Sith, Dark Krayt, working together in union to defeat the dark side entity abomination Abeloth that occurred on Abeloth's planet in the year 44 ABY. Luke Skywalker and his niece, newly appointed Jedi Master Jaina Solo, the twin sister of Jacen Solo, also known as Darth Kaitis, had followed Abeloth to the Maw, where she had taken Skywalker's son, Ben Skywalker, and the Sith apprentice Vestara Kai in a meditation spear ship. When the Rude Awakening was attacked by the Sith meditation spear ship, Grandmaster Luke Skywalker secured and strapped himself to a medbay and travelled beyond shadows. He arrived at the Lake of Apparitions, an ancient lake that Abeloth dwelled in, where he travelled across the lake until he found the spirit of his wife, Mara Jade Skywalker, the former Emperor's hand, who hated Luke more than anything, had been transformed into the one who loved him more than anything. He asked Mara for anything she could tell him and about how to defeat Abeloth, but she had nothing. But then the spirit of Jacen Solo, Luke's nephew, and the horrific being known as Darth Kaitis after his transformation into a Sith arrived as well. Jacen was initially disappointed in Luke for blaming Abeloth's escape on his own nephew, but his scorn vanished when Luke explained that Jacen's attempt to charge what he saw in the pool of knowledge had resulted in the entity's freedom. It is important to note that in Star Wars lore, whenever the Force tips to a particular side, Abeloth is said to weaken the boundaries of the Maw, and the final straw normally was Darth Kaitis becoming the Dark Lord of the Sith, rebelling against the Jedi. Normally, the ones of Mortis, the father, the daughter, and the son, would beat her back into submission whenever an event like this occurred again, going into the Maw and defeating her, putting her back in her rightful place. However, with the One's death in 21 ABY, there was no one left to stop Abeloth from freeing. Darth Kaitis' conversion was the final straw. Mara and Jacen were still unable to help him, despite what he saw in the pool of knowledge. But then the Dark Man arrived. The newcomer was in fact the Dark Lord of the Sith, Asherad Het, now known as Darth Krayt, leader of the organisation known as the One Sith. Without revealing and unveiling his true identity, he informed Luke that he was a Sith Lord and that he was here to help Skywalker defeat Abeloth, as he knew that no matter what happened, They would take the combined force of Without the Ones, Jedi and Sith working in unification and union in order to defeat this cosmic and omnipotent entity. At that moment, Abeloth arrived out of the mist of forgetfulness. The Grand Master attempted to grasp his lightsaber, but as he was in the realm beyond shadows, he did not have one and came to the realization. Luke, using his incredible Force innate ability, then attempted to blast Abeloth with a wave of Force energy, but he had already unleashed a barrage of red and terrifying Force lightning that passed through Krayt and slammed into the Jedi. Once he had recovered, the two began to pummel Abeloth with tremendous force and blasts of Force energy, and she began to cower and fall into the lake itself. During the battle, Luke's sense of time was warped, so what seemed like a lifetime could have been a blink of an eye into his eye. As Abeloth was about to fall into the water, Luke ran to her side and began to physically barrage or attack her, or what passed for physical beyond shadows. The combat between their Force essences, and such there were no physical injuries. Luke began to gain and grasp the upper hand over Abeloth's immense power, and the two began to grapple as Abeloth's tentacles lashed Luke's face. One of her tentacles hit Luke right in the eye, blinding him in that eye for the rest of the duel. Then Krayt, the Dark Lord of Sith, joined the fight and duel, jabbing his fingers in Abeloth's stomach and causing an array and black spray to erupt of blood. As the three tumbled across the surface of the lake, Abeloth attempted to force blast Krayt off of her, but her efforts were in vain, as Krayt was far more powerful than possibly even Luke Skywalker, but many considered him to be equals. Suddenly, Krayt turned on Luke and Abeloth, using a force-draining technique like Darth Nihilus's during the devastation of Qatar, to steal both of their powers and further empower and augment her immeasurable and nigh unopposed potential. In response, Luke bashed the Sith's knee and threw him off the other two, dropping him to the surface of the lake. Luke threatened to release Abeloth if Krayt did not stop, and Krayt conceded, despite his words otherwise. Luke held fast to Abeloth as Krayt continued to drain her for what seemed like days, but it suddenly felt like seconds as the Sith began to scream in immeasurable pain, anguish, and agony. Force energy, black and shiny, began to seep from Krayt's many wounds across the lake in a boiling, oily, slick water that caused the water to steam and hiss in agony. Luke realized that Krayt had, in fact, not betrayed Luke. The effort of holding Abeloth down was taking as much from Luke as the draining was from Krayt. Abeloth chose that moment to rip her head free of Luke's hold and grasp, and tried to grab anything she could reach with her barrage and array of teeth, pointed in jagged edges. But Luke grabbed her in a chokehold and merged his presence even more with the omnipotent entity of the dark side, as he told the Sith to keep going with his force drain ability. As Krayt continued, Abeloth burst into action again, using her dark side energy, sending the three of them tumbling across the surface of the lake. Even as they rolled, Krayt kept his hand buried in Abeloth's chest, despite the force energy still pouring and seeping from his wounds like blood. As they rolled, Abeloth seemed to be directing them towards the shoreline of the Lake of Apparitions, so Luke pushed off a rock and sent them tumbling back towards the lake's center point. At that point, Abeloth simply vanished, taking Krayt's hand with her, leaving Krayt's stump of an arm pointing at Luke and now draining energy from the Grand Master of the Jedi Order. Once again believing Krayt was about to betray him, Luke prepared and readied a force blast of immeasurable power that would have blown Krayt back, but Krayt stopped his attack and pointed his arm towards the end and apex of the lake. Near the mist of forgetfulness, Abeloth was backing into the mist, with Krayt's wrist still protruding from her chest, and dark energy still pouring from the limb, as if Abeloth was attempting to absorb it and steal Krayt's immeasurable dark power. Krayt then attempted to use his immeasurable powerful force abilities to pull his hand back to him using telekinesis, but Luke realized she had only fled because she was actually dying, and that her only action was to now attack. She teleported back to the duo, slamming a ball of tentacles deep in and immersing itself in Krayt's own chest, and then Luke's as well, when he tried to help. Despite her attack, Luke continued to press the offensive, grappling with her mercilessly and barragingly until his elbow simply pushed and shoved through Abeloth's own skull and head. At that very moment, Sub-17 succeeded in killing Abeloth's avatar that was inhabiting the Jedi Temple's own computer system, simultaneously near the font of power, Ben killed Abeloth's High Avatar, High Lord Krayt with a Shikar, with the death of her last 2 cloned bodies, and the destruction of her Force essence. Abeloth died, her body fell away, pulling tentacles with her, leaving Krayt and Luke holding pieces and fragments of her own essence. The 2 collapsed, the tentacles having left gaping holes in their chests. Luke fell unconscious as he began to scream in agony, causing his physical body to awake on the rude awakening, to scream as well. Well, my friends, that was the full breakdown and analysis of the Duel at the Lake of Apparitions. Abeloth is one of my favourite dark side entities and beings to ever grace the Star Wars galaxy, possibly being the most powerful being to ever exist. And I'm sure to do some videos covering her in the future, and Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, as well as Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Krayt, one of my favourite Sith Lords and Star Wars characters of all time. With that out of the way, acolytes, be sure to strike down the subscribe button and ascend to the rank of Master. It is your destiny. With that out of the way, I bid you farewell and travel into the endless wave of the Maw and into the endless void of the unknown regions. Goodbye, acolytes, and I'll see you in a galaxy far, far away.